Welcome to the AICA conference in New York City. I'm Jane King. With me is John Colescott, the AICA founder and executive chairman. So great to have you here. And the focus of this is BDC. So why did you choose to have that strategy?
Well, as you know, Jane, and our audience should, we've been doing a closed-end fund-centered conference every fall in November, day after the AICA, and we've seen so much growth in BDCs. So we cover them now for about 11 years at our firm. But right now, BDCs, both the listed and the non-listed, are about 44% of the assets in my universe. You know, we're looking at a structure that's really had dividend growth in recent years, on the average yielding over 11% for the listed shareholders. And we really have found growth in two ends of the spectrum. We'd have these large known asset managers that have come into the space in the last 5 years. So there's very large, liquid, diversified funds. But there's also still these niche players that kind of go lower in the middle market, less of a focus of these larger players. I really love telling both of those stories. And so what we did today in New York City is we had a nice fireside chat with one of the leading analysts in the space from Wells Fargo. Finian was a wonderful conversation. So enjoyed that. We're currently, as you might hear in the background, have a panel from a lobbyist, a regulator, and a lawyer really talking about that lens of what's happening because, well, it's not the most important thing initially for investors that are going to buy BDCs, but you really need to see what's happening because that will change pricing, that will change the opportunity. And in a little bit, we're going to have a session that is the BDCs themselves talking about how their platforms are different, hearing their voice. And we're going to round up the day with an analyst perspective and an investor's perspective, really trying to say how different people analyze these funds and give an opportunity to educate them on what's going on.
Yeah, well, I feel like BDCs have gotten so much more interest the past couple of years. I think because that dividend, and retirees especially, seem to really...
It's never the most important thing, but retail love yield, and also liquidity. Looking at our equal weight index of CEF advisors, the BDC index used to have only 29 BDCs that trade $1 million or more a quarter. We're now at 37. And so the number of notional BDCs is around 50, same as when we started covering them in 2014. We have larger BDCs, and we do expect that number to trend a little higher because there's a lot of non-traded and private BDCs looking to a public listing, which means eventually retail shareholders and advisors can buy them for $1,000, easily access.
Now, what do you hope to achieve with conferences like this and for the sector in general?
Yeah, so the goal of AICA is not a mini trade association for just the fund sponsors. We have the lawyers, the service providers, the valuation firms. We bring in investors and analysts. We want to be a way to have a better experience, make sure investors and advisors make less mistakes, have more knowledge, more transparency, more understanding. And so little things would be that education, which is the forefront of AICA's work with our podcast, our interviews with you and your firm. And then also really looking at ways to make them thrive by working with smart regulation. There's some rulings that which should improve the portfolio exposure and should improve the pricing of these funds so that current investors should have extra performance should these measures come to light. Or like AFFE rule, which is kind of a word salad that basically would allow them to be in the indices again, which would put more liquidity in them, which would drive prices higher, and would honestly put more of a spotlight on management to hopefully have better decisions for all going through.
Yeah, okay. John, thanks so much.
Great to be here, Jane.